Chiefs Kingdom. It's game day. Week 8, the Kansas City Chiefs are on Monday Night Football against the Washington Commanders. We've been looking forward to this one for a while now. Going to be a really fun game. We've got some big injury news to discuss today, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. But first, I want to hear from you guys. Do you think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win tonight? I sure do. If you do, get down in the comments and spam KC for me. Join me in doing that. I'm going to be liking and replying to the first couple KCs that I see. So get down there and do it quickly, and let's get into this thing. All right, Chiefs fans, here's what we've got on the agenda today. We're going to go over the impact of some Week 8 games on Kansas City, both from our divisional rivals and maybe our ultimate rival, the Buffalo Bills. We're going to talk about a Chiefs star that's doubtful for Monday Night Football and the impact that that could have on tonight's game. And then we're going to go over our keys to victory against the Washington Commanders. But first, let's get into that Week 8 news. Starting with our divisional rivals, the Chargers, they cruised past the Vikings 37-10 on Thursday Night Football. Really not a competitive game in that one. They were able to get after Carson Wentz, create pressure, looked really good on defense, and Justin Herbert just dismantled that Vikings defense. Broncos, they got a big win of their own. Offensive explosion, able to carry over the momentum they had from last week in the fourth quarter against the New York Giants for a 44-point game against the Dallas Cowboys. Just the second time they've been over 30 this season. And lastly, the Buffalo Bills shredded the Panthers 40-9, if I remember correctly. But interestingly, they lost defensive tackle Ed Oliver, maybe their best player on defense indefinitely for the season. Adam Schefter tweeting today, Bills fear that standout defensive tackle Ed Oliver has torn his bicep and will be sidelined indefinitely per sources, going to undergo an MRI to confirm the injury. And that is enormous news. Obviously, we feel terrible for Ed Oliver, but looking ahead to our game next week, very much unlikely, almost absolutely certain that he will not be on the field for us or against us in that one. And that's huge. This is such a good player, guys. Ed's been limited to just 3 games this season for the Bills, and when he's not on the field, they're an entirely different defense. 3 sacks, almost a 20% pressure rate, which if you're familiar with pressure rates, really good is like 10. So 20%, that's super elite. And this guy also is a fantastic run defender. Just a great player, and him not being out there is going to have a huge impact on this game. But the Bills also still shredded an NFL team 40-9 this week. And Ed Oliver left during that game. They were able to do that without him. And granted, the Panthers were without Bryce Young, but that's still an NFL squad in the Carolina Panthers, an NFL team that's won 4 games this season, and they got ripped up by the Buffalo Bills. And I know a lot of people that might scare you, might freak out a little bit that Buffalo's heating up at the right time, it seems, or maybe the wrong time in some people's minds. But I think this is great news for Kansas City. To quote my coworker here, Marshall Green, I want to beat you at your best. That's a quote from him about the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks. And I think that's exactly the mentality we should have about the Buffalo Bills. We should want to beat them at their best because iron sharpens iron. We should want to beat the best teams in the AFC, not win their weekend, and granted, they won't have Ed Oliver, but this team's heating up at the right time to test us at the right time, and I think that's great news for us. And looking ahead to the AFC West standings, these are must-win games down the line, guys. We're going to look ahead at our week or the next 5 games of the schedule in just a minute, but I want you to keep in mind where we sit in the AFC West right now. 2 games behind the Denver Broncos currently, with an opportunity to cut that to 1 tonight with a win, and 1 game behind the Chargers due to the tiebreaker, even if we win tonight. So the next 5, we don't really have a ton of opportunities to cut in on our divisional opponents. We kind of have to hope that they lose, other than that Week 10 game against the Denver Broncos. We get an opportunity to cut that deficit down and tie up with them. But obviously, we're outside of divisionals with Buffalo, Denver, Indianapolis, Dallas, and Houston. And not only are those all not divisional games, other than Denver, they're fantastic teams. Almost every team on this list is a really good squad. Houston, been up and down this season. And Dallas had some struggles. But this is a really good stretch of games, a really tough stretch of games for us. It's going to test the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to find out exactly how good we are. I think we're the best team in the NFL, but we're going to have to prove it over these next 5 games. And I want to hear from you guys on this. What do you think the Kansas City Chiefs record over this stretch will be, over these 5 games? My prediction, I think we go 4-1. I think we might drop one of these games. If I had to pick one that it would be, I think Denver might get us. I'm not going to lie. I think that's a sneaky one. But I think we go 4-1 over this stretch. Let me know in the comments, what do you think the Kansas City Chiefs record over that stretch will be? And if you think we drop one, who do we drop it to? Now, on to the injury report for Week 8 for Kansas City. Josh Simmons still going to be out of this game, dealing with the personal issue, which we've hit on time and time again. Not really going to expand too much on that. Not really much to say at this point that we haven't already said at least 2 or 3 times. And honestly, that's really all there is to it. Trey Smith, though, this is very significant. He is doubtful for Monday Night Football, our superstar right guard, the best player on our offensive line outside of Creed Humphrey, dealing with the back spasms. We talked about this a little bit last week. Out of that Week 7 game, he left during the Raiders game pretty early on in that one, did not return. They said his back locked up on him. And I believe the Kansas City Chiefs training staff kind of indicated that he could have returned to that game if it was a closer matchup. But it just seems like things have not moved in the right direction for Trey Smith throughout this week. He's barely practiced. And I honestly do not expect to see him out there. This is what I think our offensive line is going to look like tonight. We're going to have Jalen Moore out there playing left tackle in place of Josh Simmons. Kingsley will be out there at left guard, who, let me just say, we haven't talked about Kingsley much this season, and maybe that's underserving. He's been really, really good. Really evolved his game, moving over from tackle to guard. Very proud of the way he's improved this season. We'll have Creed Humphrey in at center, and then we'll have Mike Caliendo in at right guard in replace of Trey Smith, with obviously Jawan Taylor at right tackle, who's also improved a lot lately. And this sets up for an offensive line that is 2 starters down. And I think all of these players that are going to be filling in are good players, but you do have to worry about how the chemistry will affect that. And that's one of the biggest things with offensive lines, is the chemistry that this group has to have when they come together. It affects the decisions that they make. And speaking of decisions, we all make decisions on Prize Picks, which is the episode sponsor today, and the hard-hitting football action is even better with them. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old, so keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. A new feature I love about Prize Picks is their Feeds tab. You can follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new Feed tab on Prize Picks. I've got my lineup put together for the game tonight. We're going with the more on Brashard Smith's receiving yards. Feel like he really got going last week. Think he keeps that up. Taking the more on Patrick Mahomes passing touchdowns. The more on Terry McLaurin's receiving yards. Think he might get going in his return. And the more on Travis Kelce's receiving yards as well. Life is too short to take the less, in my opinion. Guys, you can tail me, you can fade me. Just do it at Prize Picks, because Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. They offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Big shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's episode. Let's talk about injuries on the Commanders' end of things. We've been over the Kansas City Chiefs' end of things. The most notable one here, which we hit on big last week, Jayden Daniels is going to be out of this game. They announced that last Thursday. We had our video out. Make sure you go check it out, because we talked keys to victory in that one as well. He's going to miss with a hamstring injury. That's obviously significant. Marcus Mariota is going to fill in for him. Not somebody we can take lightly, though. Marcus Mariota's got some experience beating the Kansas City Chiefs. Actually never lost to Kansas City in his career. Had a big win in the playoffs over us in Kansas City a couple of years ago. Opportunity for us to get a little revenge for that one tonight. Also significant, Daron Payne, defensive tackle who we talked about recently in a potential trade, could be a move Kansas City's making. He's set to, or at least questionable for tonight's game with a toe injury. He hasn't practiced much this week. doesn't really seem like he's trending towards playing. I would honestly have him as doubtful if it was me making the decision, just based off the way things are going, but the Commanders have listed him as questionable. So that's where he is. But this is a huge impact maker. He's not as good as Ed Oliver, who we talked about earlier, but another guy who is elite at disrupting in terms of both the run game and the pass game. Just a fantastic player. Could be very significant if he is not out there tonight. Two guys who will be out there tonight, though, and have been all over the place for the Commanders lately in the receiver room. Terry McLaurin, he hasn't played since September. He should be back tonight. And Deebo Samuel will be back as well. He's been back more recently. But this is huge for Marcus Mariota, filling in for Jayden Daniels, getting two of his best weapons, probably his two best weapons easily on this roster. I was going to count Bill Krosky-Merritt, who's also a fantastic player. But both of those guys are back for Marcus Mariota in this one, and that is enormous. He has two, that's just his two best targets. That's the guys he's going to be consistently going to. That's going to be enormous for this offense. But let's talk about keys to victory, how we can stop the Commanders tonight. Number one, we got to make them win through Marcus Mariota. We got to make Marcus Mariota be the focal point of this offense, and that means stopping the run. That means limiting what Bill Krosky-Merritt is able to do in this game. Chris Rodriguez coming off the bench. They've got a nice 1-2 punch, even with Austin Eckler out. But if we could take that run game away from them, if we can make them commit to passing the ball, and passing the ball deep, in my opinion. I think you need to take away the easy stuff from Marcus Mariota, make him take some chances. We can force some turnovers. We can create extra opportunities for Patrick Mahomes. And that's where having a varied attack on offense comes in. When Patrick Mahomes does get his opportunities, I want to see him continue to distribute the ball to all of our receivers. Make everybody on the field a threat. Don't make them able to over-account for anybody. Keep that phrase in mind. That's been the mantra throughout the locker room this year. Everybody's got to eat. I want to see that tonight again. And lastly, when we're on defense, going back to defense, create third and medium. We talked about this in our last preview. This has been such a struggle for the Commanders under Marcus Mariota to get out of third and medium or longer situations. Just 2 for 12 on those when he is in at quarterback. And the two that they did get out of were 3rd and 12 and 3rd and 17. But if we can create those situations, which our defense has also thrived in, I think we can absolutely win this football game. Another one in a row. Just keep stacking W's as we get back into the top of the AFC. But we're going to have an instant reaction tonight after today's game. Hit that subscribe button so you do not miss it. No matter what happens, I'm going to be coming at you guys with that video. We'll talk takeaways. We'll talk about where we stand in the AFC West after the game. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you do not miss out. Let's go, Chiefs. I'll see you guys later.